Hit on the one thing that people know you for college hoops. I know you for a lot more than that. But years ago, when I lived in Vegas, it was the heart of UNLV and college basketball. Guys like, Christian Laettner would come back for a junior year. It was a different sport. But Vegas guys used to always tell me, listen, there's about 8 teams every year that can win this thing. You need the coach. Is he good situationally? Nice to have an NBA player. Don't have to. Virginia's got now an NBA guy.
DeAndre Hunter, yeah.
Yeah, guard play tends to matter. Are you a team that won't get too high, too low, so you can get knocked off? These are my... I've watched all the good... I've watched Duke a lot. Mm-hmm. I think Michigan's built for the tournament because I think their game coach is amazing. I think Kentucky, Michigan State are close, but I can't see them winning 6 straight games. These are my 6 I like. Is there a dark horse? Is there a team you love? I mean...
Well, you don't have Kentucky in there. I'm surprised by it.
There's 5 and 4 against ranked teams. They got better late in the year, but they're kind of...
Well, Gonzaga lost to Tennessee and to North Carolina and lost to Duke. Beat Duke.
Who should win it?
Who should win it? I mean, Duke should win it based upon talent and pedigree, but they have basically 3 guys that can score, no bench, and they can't shoot.
They can't shoot.
But like if I went through each one of these teams, like Michigan, no bench and can't score. They have to beat you with their defense.
Yes.
And they're great at point guard defensively and great at center defensively. But, they lost to Michigan State 3 times because Michigan State was that much better at point guard offensively. North Carolina, I think, has a ton of talent.
Yeah, I like them.
But Kobe White, their freshman point guard, is more of a scorer than kind of your traditional Roy Williams point guard. Tennessee and Gonzaga, I have questions about their guard play. Virginia, don't tell me you're pregnant. Show me the baby in terms of the NCAA tournament. I have Kentucky in my bracket, and I have some of the same hesitations you do.
Yeah.
They have youth. Ashton Higgins, their point guard, can't shoot, but he's great defensively. They got scores on each wing.
Yeah.
They got scores inside. They defend. They have depth. And as much as you could take shots at John Calipari for only winning 1 title at Kentucky, he's around more times than not, he's around.
They're close.
I would put Kentucky definitely on that list and probably take Michigan off the list.
Okay.
What they've been able to do, considering what they lost from last year, is nothing short of miraculous. With John Beilein, I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to win 4, let alone 6 games.
By the way, great weekend. Great job in the Big Ten Championship.
It was wild.
Fun, crazy.
And it's one of these things that we do in my sport, in college basketball, is we have a tendency to completely downplay conference play and conference tournament play. That stuff is awesome. And Michigan State won their preseason tournament in Vegas. Yeah. They won their regular season. They beat Michigan 3 times, and they won. That was an absolute war yesterday to win in Chicago. And nobody cares if they lose, their first round game, like what happened to Middle when they lost to Middle Tennessee going back a couple years ago.
All right, I want to go to a couple of NBA things. First of all, I've said I don't hate Russell Westbrook. I hate his game. There's kind of a lack of self-awareness. He's a very rigid, tightly wound guy. And when you add a little tension to it, playoffs, 4th quarter against the Warriors, he completely melts down Saturday. I'm not going to bang on him because he's not a great shooter and he never has been.
You just did bang on him.
Well, no, but what I bang on him for, his personality. I was on a plane years ago, guys drunk, unruly, and tension is contagious. The uptight dad, the guy in the plane. We've been in TSA where somebody... And
you are who your best player is.
And I watched this meltdown Saturday night. Yeah. What did you make of it?
Well, I kind of think we keep stoking it. Even the fan should have lost his tickets in Utah.
Yes.
But the fact is, that's not his first run-in with a fan even this year.
Right.
Hey, dude, we don't dislike you. We actually like you. We get into the clothes thing and the shoes thing and the why not thing, and yet for whatever reason he's super, super defensive, and we make excuses for Russell Westbrook. We make excuses for the poor shooting. We're like, hey, look, Paul George has been great, so Russell Westbrook must be part of that. He's part of that, but he's not. Most of it is Paul George has just been great.
Right.
I kind of think the way in which most players, most media members handled the Russell Westbrook in Utah situation is why we see him acting this way. He gets technical fouls. He's supposed to be suspended a game, right? Because he's gotten more technical fouls than anybody in the NBA.
That's so weird.
He's just so incredibly defensive and a me against the world guy when the world is not actually against Russell Westbrook.
By the way, it's kind of what makes him great. What makes Russell Westbrook great is that he's got this chip on his shoulder a mile high. It's why Aaron Rodgers ends up from a junior college to the great talent. But sometimes your personality, your benefits become I tend to be kind of myopic. That can make me a really dopey husband, and sometimes my kids want to strangle me. Westbrook's intensity is what makes him Westbrook, and it's what wears people out. And I just think he's a very tightly wound guy, and you add a little bit of tension to the moment, and it just implodes quickly.
There's no question. I know people that have always been Westbrook fans.
Yes.
Because of how hard he works and how hard he plays.
Can't deny any of
his
that.
level of competitiveness on a daily basis, who are now just like kind of done with the whole thing, the whole tough guy act.
Yeah.
The refs are out to get me, the world is out against me. Like, look, he's gotten worse, not better as a shooter. Normally, when you start to age, you get better as a shooter and worse as an athlete. But he's just like, look, it creates an amount of tension that is not good for his team, and they should be a legit challenger in the West. Now, look, the other thing that happened over the weekend, Malcolm Brogdon got hurt. He's out 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
I think that changes the East dramatically. He's an incredibly integral part of what the Bucks do. And CJ McCollum, we'll see what happens with
May
his
not
knee.
play for Portland.
Might not play either, which makes Portland wasn't going to win the thing, but they would be a nuisance to somebody in an NBA playoff series, drag it out 6-7 games.
Here's another story I think that needs to be addressed. We all know Kevin Durant's amazing, but I talked about this with certain guys are great talents, not great leaders. Barry Bonds, I think was a great talent. I don't think Barry was necessarily galvanized a locker room. Sure. A-Rod a little bit. And we both like A-Rod. Yeah. Whereas Jeter was both. Russell Wilson's both. I think Peyton Manning was great and a leader. I look at Kevin Durant, and, Golden State, he'll leave for a couple games.
You're wrong.
And they're better without him.
They're not better without him. They're not. This is the Celtics are better without Kyrie thing. They're not. Listen. The reason they beat Houston was DeMarcus Cousins for the first time looked like DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, he played well.
He played exceptionally well. And then they beat Oklahoma City because Russell Westbrook imploded.
But you would acknowledge it is Steph's team.
Look, Steph is who they want to be. Steph has fun. Like it's not work to him, right? And that does flow to the whole team. Whereas KD is kind of a curmudgeon. Like he's like, why is he not happy? But he's a walking bucket, Colin.
Yes.
He's the best player in the NBA because he can affect the game at both ends of the floor, and he has a virtually unstoppable pull-up jump shot, right? Like, so I get it. He's not that much fun to cover, and he doesn't seem like he's enjoying himself that much. But there is kind of a mixture there, right? Because Steph is fun. Steph plays with joy, but Steph will also turn it over and it doesn't really bother him that much. KD wants to tear out your heart and show it in front of you and watch you bleed to death. That's who he is. He really is. Once upon a time, there was a nickname given him, the Slim Reaper, that he ran away from, and I thought that was amazing. I thought that was perfect.
That's a great nickname.
It is. It's great. He's struggling kind of internally, but they're not better without the best scorer in the NBA.
It goes to something. Joy and I talked about this. Remember Dan Campbell took over the Dolphins as the coach, and he was kind of this like, kind of the meathead coach, right? And for like 4 weeks, the Dolphins were amazing.
Yes.
But over time...
Substitute teacher.
But over time, the best teachers win. Andy Reid, Belichick. Kevin Durant, in a short spurt without him, the classroom's fine. But he is the smartest kid in the classroom. Like, so
I just changed your opinion?
No, you didn't. But no,
I think I did, because you came in with the premise that they're better without him. Look, here's the thing with Golden State that I don't know if you've said, but I've said, is I'm not convinced they're actually better with DeMarcus Cousins.
I don't think they are.
Right. And so, look, anytime Golden State has won an NBA championship, they've won 3 of the past 4. They've done so closing out with Draymond Green with the small ball lineup, right? That's their death lineup.
Yep.
Okay. That's not having a big guy. And the reason is you have to hide Steph Curry. You can hide one guy defensively. You can't hide 2. And if they have DeMarcus Cousins, now all of a sudden you can't switch every pick and roll with your center. And, by the way, he's kind of a ball stopper offensively. Like, there's a reason they went out and got Andrew Bogut, off the scrap heap, who's in Australia, because he's a great screener, both legal and illegal. He's a great passer, and he's a no-ego guy.
Yeah.
And he fits perfectly with what they have, whereas DeMarcus Cousins does not. I think the Warriors still know that they have problems. This weekend's 2 wins without Kevin Durant notwithstanding.
I want to talk about Ben Roethlisberger. What I'm finding with Pittsburgh, it's the blame game. It's everybody else's fault. But I don't need Antonio Brown to be a leader, and I don't need Le'Veon Bell to be a leader. I need my quarterback to be a leader. I mean, I got about 19 examples now with Big Ben, people calling him out. Okay, at some point, and I've always said, quarterbacks can get away with more because they're quarterbacks. I mean, if Russell Wilson was a jerk, he could get away with it, right? If you're a defensive end or a corner and you're loud, you're out of town. But I mean, this claim by a Steeler teammate that 4 years ago, he fumbled on purpose to spite Todd Haley, to go public with that, that is not just a